My aunt left me her house. I'd met her maybe 4 times in my life. But when Eden Brooks died at 102, her lawyer called with news. I'd inherited everything: the house, the land, the contents, with one condition. "There's a locked room on the second floor," the lawyer said. "You are never to open it. If you do, the house reverts to charity immediately." "What's in it?" I asked. "I don't know," she wouldn't say, just that this was non-negotiable. I should have walked away right then, but I was drowning. My mother had died 6 months earlier. My relationship had ended. My freelance journalism career was circling the drain. A free house felt like a lifeline. So I said yes, and signed papers promising I'd never open that door. Have you ever inherited something mysterious? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more stories about family secrets, forbidden mysteries, and discoveries that change everything, hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you never miss our next story. The house was in coastal Oregon. Small town. 3 hours from Portland. 20 minutes from the nearest grocery store. Isolated. Quiet. Perfect for someone trying to disappear from her life. I arrived on a cold October afternoon. Rain misting, gray sky, gray ocean in the distance. The house was Victorian, 3 stories, pale blue paint faded to almost white, wraparound porch, garden gone wild but still beautiful in that overgrown way. It looked like a house from a Gothic novel, the kind where secrets live in walls. I unlocked the front door with the key the lawyer had sent. Inside was a time capsule. Furniture from the 60s, floral wallpaper, thick carpets, everything clean but dated. Like Eden had stopped updating the house 50 years ago and just maintained it exactly as it was. "Hello?" I called out. Stupid. No one was here. But the house felt occupied somehow. Silence answered. I walked through slowly. Living room, kitchen, dining room, library, so many books, shelves floor to ceiling, hundreds of them, maybe thousands. I pulled one out at random. The Codebreakers by David Kahn. About cryptography. Another. Between Silk and Cyanide about secret codes in W2. Another. The Secret Life of Bletchley Park. A pattern emerging. In the kitchen, I found a note, handwritten, on the counter. "Welcome, Cassandra. Everything you need is here. Respect the house, respect the rules. Eden." Left before she died. Waiting for me. I climbed the stairs. 2nd floor, 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. And at the end of the hall, the locked room. The door was different from the others. Heavier, darker wood, solid. Like it was meant to keep something in. Or out. The doorknob was brass. Tarnished. No keyhole visible. I touched it. Cold. Pressed my ear against the door. Silence. Complete silence. I tried the knob. Locked. Obviously. "What are you hiding, Eden?" I whispered. The house didn't answer. I chose the bedroom farthest from the locked room. Unpacked my 2 suitcases. My entire life condensed into 2 bags. That's what 6 months of grief and giving up will do. That first night, I lay in bed listening. Old houses make sounds. Settling, wind, pipes. But I swear I heard something else. Footsteps? No. Imagination. A door closing? Just the wind. Breathing? Definitely my imagination. I didn't sleep well. The next morning, I started exploring properly. Eden's bedroom was the largest, facing the ocean. Beautiful view. Her clothes still in the closet. Simple, practical. Lots of cardigans. One dress that looked expensive and never worn. Photos on the dresser. Eden at various ages. Always alone. No husband. No children. Just her. Apart from one photo where she's maybe 25, wearing a uniform. Hair pinned up. Serious expression. Beautiful. Next to it, a man. Also in uniform. Also young. Also serious. Also beautiful. They're not touching in the photo. But something about the way they're standing, close, angled toward each other, suggests intimacy. No names, no date. I pocketed the photo. Evidence of something. In her nightstand, letters. Dozens of them. Tied with ribbon. Yellowed with age. I opened one. And couldn't read it. Not because the handwriting was bad. Because it was in code. Random letters. XQMRPVZLKSPRTNW. Not a language. A cipher. Every letter was like this. Coded. What were you hiding, Eden? I asked the empty room again. I spent the first week just settling in, learning the house, the town, the rhythm. The town was sleepy. One grocery store, one coffee shop, one bar, library, post office. People were friendly but distant, small town polite. At the coffee shop, the owner, Margaret 60-something, recognized me. You're Eden's niece. Grandniece, technically. She was a special woman, very private, but kind. Did you know her well? As well as anyone, I suppose, which wasn't very. She kept to herself. But she was always polite, always reading. Margaret smiled. Always that sad look in her eyes, like she was remembering something painful. Do you know why? Never asked, felt rude, but there were rumors. What kind? Margaret leaned in. Conspiratorial. That she worked for the government during the war. That she had security clearance. That she knew secrets. What war? World War II, dear. She'd have been the right age, early 20s. Are you sure? I asked. Margaret frowned. Well, that's what old Timothy claimed. He knew her back then, said she was important during the war. Where can I find Timothy? You can't, unfortunately, he died last April. Oh, I'm sorry. Did Eden ever mention family? I asked. Not that I heard. You're the first family I've seen around here. She lived alone all those years. Never married. No children. Seemed lonely. Margaret's expression was sad. Capable. Independent. But lonely. Back at the house, I kept exploring. The library was incredible. I'm a journalist. I live for information. And this was a treasure trove. But the books were so specific. Cryptography. World War II, espionage, secret operations, Bletchley Park, SOE, women in military intelligence, mixed in, poetry, love poems, Byron, Keats, Shelley, and one modern book, The Code Book by Simon Singh, published in 1999, bookmarked on a chapter about wartime ciphers, in the margins, in pencil, notes, in Eden's handwriting. Playfair still effective for field ops. Visionaire vulnerable if key repeats. One-time pad only truly secure method. She wasn't just reading for fun. She was studying, remembering, or teaching herself again. Why? I turned to the bookmarked page, a detailed explanation of how codebreakers worked during Y2, how they saved thousands of lives, how their work stayed classified for decades. More margin notes. We knew. We always knew, but we couldn't say. Chills ran down my spine. 1 week in, I passed the locked room and stopped. I'd been avoiding it, purposely taking the other stairs, not thinking about it. But standing there now, I felt it again. That pull. I tried the handle, still locked. Knelt down. Tried to look through the keyhole, blocked. Something on the other side. I pressed my ear to the door again, listening, and heard something. Not footsteps, not breathing, just a presence, a weight, like the room was full of something heavy and waiting. What are you? I whispered. No answer. I went downstairs and Googled Eden Brooks World War II. Nothing. Eden Brooks Government Classified. Nothing. Eden Brooks cryptography. Nothing. She'd left no digital footprint. Or it had been scrubbed, which meant Margaret was right. Eden had been involved in something classified, something that stayed secret even after her death. And whatever it was, It was behind that locked door. 2 weeks in, I found the diaries, hidden in the library, behind a false back on a shelf. 5 leather-bound journals, dated from 1942 to 1945. I opened the first one excitedly. Finally. Answers. But no. Every entry was in code. Different code than the letters. More complex. MQXRT, PLKSN, VWZRM, BQNXT, LMPRK, page after page. Years of Eden's life, locked behind cipher. I wanted to cry. I'm not a codebreaker. I'm a journalist. I write articles about local politics and human interest stories, but I couldn't let it go. That night, I started researching how to break codes, what methods existed, what tools I needed. And slowly, very slowly, I started learning. 3 months in, I was obsessed. Every day, work on the codes, try patterns, look for repeats, test theories. The locked room haunted me. I'd walk past it multiple times a day, touch the door, listen, feel that pull. I knew I shouldn't open it, legally, morally. I'd promised, but I needed to know. What was Eden hiding? What had consumed her life? And why leave it to me if I couldn't know? At night, I dreamed about the room, about opening the door, about what might be inside. Sometimes terrifying things, bodies, ghosts, monsters, sometimes beautiful things, treasures, answers, peace. Always woke up with my heart pounding. 4 months in, I made progress. The diaries weren't random. They were encrypted with a specific cipher, a modified Vigenère cipher, using a keyword. But what keyword? I tried everything. Eden, Brooks, war, love, secret. Nothing worked. Then I remembered the photo, the man in uniform next to Eden. What if? I tried names, common war-era names, John, William, Robert, nothing. Then, almost as a joke, I tried Dean. The first line decoded. Today I met someone who will change my life. His name is Dean Clark. My hands were shaking. I had the key. It took me 2 weeks to decode all 5 diaries. And when I finished, I understood everything. Eden Brooks wasn't just a woman with secrets. She was a ghost, a hero, a heartbreak. 1942. Eden joined the Women's Army Corps, posted to a classified location. Washington, D.C., worked in signals intelligence, decoding enemy communications. 1943. Met Dean Clark, lieutenant, brilliant, kind. They fell in love, secretly. Fraternization was discouraged. 1944. Engagement, private. No ring yet. War had to end first. They planned a life, house, children, growing old together. June 1944, D-Day. Dean's unit deployed. Eden worked operations supporting the invasion, decoded critical intelligence that saved lives. Dean's unit included. July 1944, Dean's unit on a mission behind enemy lines. Intelligence suggested it was safe. It wasn't. Ambush, entire unit killed, including Dean. August 1944. Eden blamed herself. Her intelligence had cleared the mission, but it was wrong, or outdated, or misinterpreted. Dean died because of information she helped provide. 1945. War ended. Eden discharged, returned home, never married, never dated, never moved on. Built this house, filled it with books, locked away her memories of Dean in one room, and lived quietly for 60 years, carrying guilt, carrying love, carrying loss. The diaries ended in 1945. She never wrote again, or if she did, those diaries weren't here. I sat in the library, crying, for Eden, for Dean, for a love destroyed by war, and I understood the locked room. It wasn't sinister, it wasn't dangerous, it was sacred. Eden's private memorial, her sanctuary, her place to hold on to the life she should have had. And she'd asked me, begged me, not to violate it. But I needed to know, needed to see, needed to understand fully. I was a terrible person, but I couldn't stop myself. 5 months in, I found the key. In the last diary, the final entry. If someone reads this, they've earned the truth. The key is where we first said, I love you, page 142. I ran to the poetry section, found the Byron collection, She Walks in Beauty, page 142, a hollowed-out section, and inside a small brass key. I held it, heavy, old, important, and I knew. This opened the locked room. Eden had left me a way in. Eventually. If I proved I cared enough to understand. I stood at the bottom of the stairs, looking up. Knowing what I was about to do violated her wishes, broke my promise, risked losing the house. But also knowing. She'd left the key. In a place I'd find only if I decoded her life. She wanted me to open it, eventually. I climbed the stairs. I stood outside the locked room, key in hand, heart pounding. I'm sorry, Eden, I whispered. But I need to understand. I inserted the key, turned it. Click. The lock opened. I pushed the door. It swung inward, silent, smooth, like it had been waiting. And I stepped inside. The first thing I noticed was the smell. Not decay, not must. Lavender, cedar. Time preserved carefully. The room was smaller than I expected, maybe 12 by 15 feet, but it felt full. Dense with meaning. Heavy curtains covered the windows. Blackout curtains. The kind used during wartime. They blocked every bit of light from outside. I flipped the light switch. A single overhead bulb illuminated the space. And I stopped breathing. The walls were covered in photographs. Not randomly. Chronologically. Left to right, top to bottom. A timeline of a life that should have been. Left wall. Beginning. Eden. Young, maybe 22. In Women's Army Corps uniform, serious, beautiful, eyes full of determination. Dean Clark, same age, lieutenant's uniform, handsome, kind eyes, half smile like he was always amused by something. Photos of them together, not many. Wartime romance was complicated. But a few stolen moments, sitting on steps outside a building, not touching but close, standing in a group. Others around them, but their eyes only on each other. One photo, just one, where they're holding hands. Someone caught it, a moment of vulnerability, of love. Center wall, the work, documents, declassified now, probably, or maybe still classified, and Eden kept them anyway. Code sheets, enemy transmissions, her handwritten decryptions, maps, Operation Overlord, D-Day, notes and margins. A commendation letter from a general, praising the invaluable work of civilian contractor E. Brooks in signals intelligence operations. A list of operations, dates, how many lives saved by intelligence. June 3rd, 1944. Intercepted communication Panzer Division movement. 47 Allied lives saved. June 5th, 1944. Decoded weather reports. D-Day delayed 24 hours. Estimated 200-plus lives saved by accurate timing. July 12th, 1944. Decoded enemy supply routes. Ambush successful. 15 enemy casualties. 0 Allied. And then, July 18th, 1944. Operation Clearwater. Intelligence suggested safe corridor. Recommended proceed. Unit deployed. July 19th, 1944. Unit ambushed. 12 killed, including Lieutenant Dean Clark. Intelligence was wrong. I was wrong. That entry. In red ink. Underlined. Stained with something. Tears? Blood? Just age? Right wall. The life unlived. This was the part that broke me. A wedding dress. On a mannequin. Simple. 1940s style. Ivory. Never worn. An engagement ring. In a small box. Gold band. Small diamond. Never given. Sketches. Drawn by hand. Eden's hand, I assumed. Or Dean's. A house. With a porch. Garden. Swing. Children. 2. A boy and a girl. Playing. A dining table. Family gathered around. Growing old together. 2 figures. Gray-haired. Holding hands. Dreams. rendered in pencil, never fulfilled. Below the sketches, letters, not in code. These were in English, but never sent. I picked one up. Dated August 3rd, 1944, 2 weeks after Dean's death. My dearest Dean, they tell me you're gone. I don't believe them. I can't. If you were truly gone, wouldn't I feel it? Wouldn't something inside me break? But I feel nothing. Just numb. Like my body knows, but my mind won't accept. I keep decoding messages. Keep working. Because if I stop, I'll have to think. And if I think, I'll have to accept. And I can't accept a world where you don't exist. They're sending me home next month. The war isn't over, but my part in it is. I failed. I sent you into danger with faulty intelligence. I killed you as surely as if I'd pulled the trigger. I don't know how to live with that. I don't know how to live without you. But I'll try. Because you'd want me to. You always believed in tomorrow, in futures, in hope. I'll live, but I won't love again. That part of me died with you. Forever yours, Eden. I set the letter down with shaking hands. More letters. Dozens. Written over decades. 1945. I bought a house today. The one we sketched together. I'll live here. Alone. But with your memory. 1950. People say it gets easier with time. They're wrong. It gets different, but not easier. 1960. 15 years. I'm 38 now. The age we should have been watching our children grow. Instead, I'm alone. Teaching myself not to regret. Failing. 1970. 25 years. I had a visitor today. A veteran. He knew you. Told me stories. You saved his life in 43. Before we met. You were always saving people. Until you couldn't save yourself. 1980. 35 years. I'm 58. Realizing I've now lived longer without you than the world had you in it. That seems wrong. Cruel. 2000. 55 years. New millennium. You'd have been 78. We'd be old together. Watching grandchildren, maybe. Instead, I'm old alone. It's not tragic anymore. Just sad. Just life. 2010. 65 years. I'm 88. Don't have much time left. Decided to leave the house to Cassandra, my brother's granddaughter. She doesn't know me. But she's smart. Curious. If she's anything like me, she'll figure out the codes. She'll understand. And maybe she'll learn from my mistakes. The last letter. Dated 6 months before Eden's death. To whoever opens this door, if you're reading this, you've decoded my diaries. You've learned my story. You've earned the right to see this room. This is my confession, my shrine, my prison. I loved Dean Clark with everything I had. When he died, I died too. But my body kept living, for 60 years. I built this room to honor him, to keep him alive, to live the life we should have had, even if only in imagination. But somewhere along the way, it became a prison. I trapped myself here, in grief, in guilt, in the past. Don't make my mistake. Love people while they're alive. Grieve when they die. But then, and this is the hard part, live. Really live. Not the half-life I lived. Not the shadow existence where you go through motions, but never truly feel anything. Live. Love again. Risk again. Hurt again. Because the alternative is this. A beautiful room full of memories and what-ifs, and nothing else. I don't regret loving Dean. I regret not living after I lost him. Don't do what I did. Grieve, fully, deeply. Don't rush it. But then, step out of this room. Close the door. And live the life your loved one would want you to live. That's the only way to truly honor them. With love and regret and hope for you, Eden Brooks. I read the letter 3 times. Then I sat on the floor and cried. For Eden, for Dean, for my mother, for myself. Because Eden was right. I'd been doing the same thing, not with a physical room, but with my life. Since Mom died, I'd been existing, not living, going through motions, avoiding feeling, avoiding connecting, avoiding risk. Because if I didn't love anything, I couldn't lose anything. But that wasn't living. That was Eden's mistake, and she'd spent 60 years realizing it. And now she was handing me the lesson she'd learned too late. I stayed in that room for hours, reading every letter, looking at every photo, understanding the full weight of Eden's grief and guilt and love. She'd blamed herself for Dean's death, carried that guilt for 6 decades. But reading the declassified documents on the wall, I could see the intelligence wasn't wrong. It was incomplete. The enemy had moved. Last minute. No one could have known. Dean's death wasn't Eden's fault, but she'd never forgiven herself. And that unforgiveness had consumed her life. As the sun set, I left the room. I didn't lock it. Not yet. I went downstairs, made tea, sat on the porch watching the ocean, and I made a decision. 2 weeks later, I called my sister. First time in 3 months. Cass? Oh my God, where have you been? Oregon. I inherited Aunt Eden's house. The crazy old aunt who left you a house with weird conditions? She wasn't crazy. She was heartbroken. We talked for 2 hours. Really talked. For the first time since Mom died. About grief, about moving forward, about living instead of just existing. 1 month later, I started writing again, not journalism, a book, The Codebreaker's Secret, a true story of love and loss in World War II. Eden's story, with her permission, implied in that final letter. Dean deserved to be remembered. Eden deserved to be known. Their love deserved documentation. I changed names, protected classified details, but told the truth of their story. 3 months later, I met someone, a man named Joel, owned the bookstore in town. I wasn't looking, wasn't ready, but he made me laugh. And I hadn't laughed in so long. We had coffee, then dinner, then more dinners, and slowly, terrifyingly, I felt myself coming back to life. I told him about Eden, about the room, about the lesson. Are you going to keep the room locked? He asked. No, but I'm not going to live in it either. 6 months after opening the room, I went back inside, this time with intention. I took down the wedding dress, donated it to a vintage shop. Someone should wear it, experience joy in it. I kept the photos, the letters, the documents. They belonged in the book, in history. But I also added something new. A photo of my mother, next to Eden's photo. Another woman I'd loved and lost. And next to Mom's photo, a letter I wrote. Dear Mom, I'm learning to live without you. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. But I'm doing it. Because you'd want me to. I met someone. His name is Joel. You'd like him. He's kind. He makes terrible puns. He reads constantly. I'm writing again. A book. About love and loss and the cost of staying trapped in grief. I'm living in this beautiful house that a woman I barely knew left me. Because she saw something in me. Maybe she saw herself, her mistakes, her regrets. And she wanted to save me from repeating them. So I'm living, Mom. Really living. It hurts. Every day. I miss you every day. But I'm living. I love you. Always. Cass. I placed the letter on the shelf. Then I did something else. I opened the curtains. Light flooded the room for the first time in decades. Sunlight. Ocean view. Life. The room transformed. Still sacred. Still a memorial. But not a tomb. A place to visit. To remember. To honor. 1 year after opening the room. The book was done. I submitted to publishers. Joel and I were serious, building something real. I'd made friends in town, joined a book club, volunteered at the library. I'd started living, but I still visited the room, once a week, sat in there, talked to Eden, to Mom, to Dean, told them about my life, my progress, my struggles. And I felt like they were listening, like they approved. 18 months later, the book was published. The Codebreaker's Secret became a regional bestseller. People reached out. Other families with WB22's stories. Other women who'd loved and lost. Eden's story resonated. 5 years later, Joel and I had a daughter. We named her Eden. Little Eden had her great-great-great-aunt's eyes. Curious, intelligent, determined. I brought her to the room sometimes, when she was old enough. Showed her the photos, told her the stories. This is your namesake. She was brave. She loved deeply. She made mistakes. She learned from them, and she helped me learn from them too. What did she teach you, Mama? That love is worth the risk. That grief is the price we pay for love. But that staying trapped in grief helps no one. That's sad. It is. But it's also beautiful. Because Eden learned it eventually. And she made sure I learned it faster. Little Eden touched Eden's photo. Gentle, respectful. She looks nice. She was. Do you think she's happy now? In heaven? I thought about that. About Eden. About Dean. About 60 years of waiting. Yes, I think she finally got her life with Dean, just in a different place. Good. Little Eden smiled. Everyone should get their happy ending. Yes, baby, everyone should. Have you ever been told not to do something and felt compelled to do it anyway? But here's the deeper question. Have you been living or just existing? Are you trapped in a locked room of your own making? Share your thoughts, your stories of locked rooms, literal or metaphorical, and your journeys from existing to living in the comments below. If this story about family secrets, forbidden mysteries, and learning to live after loss moved you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about discovery, healing, and the courage to move forward. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you never miss our next story. Thanks for watching, and we see you in the next one.